What is the deep state everyone's been hearing about? Everyone's talking about the deep state, which I've actually been talking about for years, but finally everyone's talking about it and it's great. So, what is it? Hannity rails on the deep state every single night on Fox News from 10 to 11. He lists felony after felony committed by Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary Clinton. It's incredible to watch Sean demand legal justice from a congresswoman and the former Secretary of State on national TV with millions of viewers. A lot of people are new to the idea of the deep state, and that's all right. If you're new, especially if you're not a skeptical person as it is, just be prepared to feel a little overwhelmed. It's like watching Game of Thrones. There's an entire parallel world with hundreds of characters. And the way I tuned into this parallel world was through watching YouTube videos like this one, where they were talking about the deep state. And they were already waking people up to the idea of the deep state, one scene of corruption at a time. It's way too much to get all at once, but start collecting stories on the deep state, start listening to Sean Hannity, but go further and go do your own research, bookmark news sources of news that tell you about the deep state, subscribe to my show, I'll tell you about the deep state and who else is exposing them for who they are. Hannity has done a great job exposing the deep state. He's really dialing in on the major players, and he's been doing that for a couple of months now, but he doesn't really tell you what the overall deep state is. So I'm going to go ahead and define that for you clearly right now. The deep state is a collection of criminal politicians that infiltrated our government, and these deep state politicians use their deep state connections to commit crimes and cover them up. And that is the pattern. They commit a crime and they cover it up. People are waking up left and right as Sean lays out the facts. There are political criminals that are somehow above the law. And people are getting that. The crimes get covered up. Like when Hillary Clinton obstructs justice and deletes 33,000 emails, subpoenaed emails, she obstructed justice. That's breaking the law, and she perjured herself when she lied about deleting those emails, and then she perjured herself again when she lied about those emails being classified. Judicial Watch has sued and uncovered over 500 of those emails, and yes, they were classified. And the FBI and the DOJ has assisted in the cover-up through their refusal to release the emails and the redaction of the emails that were released. All of these felonies and no trial. Strange. And strange how the FBI and the DOJ are still trusted to run our investigations. Strange. Crooked Hillary is one of the leaders of the deep state, and it turns out Trump has been waking you up all along. For instance, it came out in the 1990s that the deep state was smuggling large quantities of cocaine through the port of Los Angeles, and since the supply was controlled, the CIA could mark up the price to pretty much whatever they wanted. And the big pharma does the same thing, and the FDA kind of team up to control the supply of drugs through the approval process, and then they control the price. The deep state makes serious coin through creative, secret, illegal imports and exports, smuggling. The deep state smuggles all kinds of things. They smuggle drugs, weapons, stolen cars, but they also smuggle humans. That's human trafficking, organ trafficking. These are all things that you should research on your own time later. The deep state smuggling operation could easily be found out by like a policeman or somebody at the port. So they really have to infiltrate the port authority and have him turn a blind eye, and then you have the go-ahead at the port to bring drugs into the country. So smugglers, even deep state smugglers, get exposed though, and when that happens, there's a prosecution, but it's in closed chambers, and never are cameras allowed in the courtroom. And just in case anyone gets caught, they have lawyers and judges, even FBI directors, to dismiss their blatantly guilty cases. If you were unaware of the deep state until recently, welcome. Congratulate yourself. Those are not easy truths to hear, and they're also not easy truths to find. Unless you are actively searching online, the deep state, the FBI, the DOJ cover up each other's crimes.
Well, Chris, if he finds evidence of a crime that's within the scope of what Director Mueller and I have agreed is the appropriate scope of his investigation, then he can. If it's something outside that scope, he needs to come to the acting Attorney General, at this time me, for permission to expand his investigation.
The deep state is stocked with deep state lawyers all the way to the top, all the way to acting Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Hannity calls out Rosenstein and the DOJ for their biased prosecutions and demands Rosenstein recuse himself.
Legal scholar Jonathan Turley, a Democrat, is out with a brand new op-ed on thehill.com. He makes several key points about why he rightly believes that Rosenstein, he needs to recuse himself, including this one. Rosenstein is likely going to be a witness in this investigation that he caused because he took the lead in writing the letter to President Trump on why former FBI Director James Comey should be fired. By the way, they're also looking into that as a possible obstruction. He's a witness.
But he won't. Rod Rosenstein is one of the most powerful deep state operatives in our government. As acting Attorney General, he is the one who hired Robert Mueller, the special counsel, and another deep stater.
Rosenstein is also the guy who appointed Robert Mueller and apparently either didn't know or didn't care about the fact that the day before naming Mueller as special counsel, he had an interview with President Trump. He wanted to be the FBI director. You can't make this up.
Who is recently brought on a grand jury. The deep state attacks on Donald Trump are aimed at removing him from the White House. Trump is our guy behind enemy lines. It was never supposed to happen, but it did. We voted him in, and now he's back there behind enemy lines. That is why he's under constant attack. The deep state wants him out, but we worked way too hard to get him back there to let the deep state impeach him. So I keep asking myself about once an hour, how do we stop them? And I think I have it. I think I've got it down to 2 actionable steps. First, we need to start talking about them. Expose the deep state. Ask your friends and family members, what do you think about the deep state? Share the information. Please share my video. Please right now, press share and like and subscribe. Share this information as far and wide as you can. Many people still have no idea what the deep state is, so don't overwhelm them. But most people don't watch Hannity and don't know about the deep state. So expose means share the videos about the deep state, push the hashtags, talk to your friends and family, get out there in the world and share. Once the crimes are exposed, then you have to prosecute. That's step 2. You will see this pattern on the left all the time. The moment CNN started targeting Trump with the Russian narrative, there was a string of lawyers that were digging into any way that they could prepare a prosecution and find a grand jury and eventually remove him from office. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if to this day Donald Trump still had no lawyers looking into his Russia connection? None. Dozens and dozens of lawyers are investigating Trump and have been for months and months. But who's been investigating Hillary Clinton? Who's been investigating Debbie Wasserman Schultz? So we need to expose, which we've done a pretty good job of, and we need to prosecute, which we've done a terrible job of. This is the pattern that pushes the news cycle forward and drains the swamp. The left is very good at expose and prosecute, and they do it because it works. They have the prosecution in mind from the very moment they gin up their side. Once a certain level of outrage is reached on social media, the lawyers sweep in and press the courts for a hearing. That is what we must do. That is what Sean Hannity just did. Sean Hannity hired 4 lawyers to investigate if he was unmasked by the NSA deep staters, which he heard on a rumor that he was. I would not be surprised if he was. They were monitoring Alex Jones. They were monitoring Donald Trump and the Trump team. Why wouldn't they monitor Sean Hannity, one of the biggest red pillars out there? I will be covering that investigation very closely. He promises to sue everybody involved if he finds any evidence. So tune in and we'll get this scoop to you on that case. But we can't stop there. We need to get citizens to take up class action suits against the deep state operatives like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Debbie Wasserman Schultz has already been exposed as a criminal. A group of concerned citizens and lawyers now need to take up the case and prosecute her in court. We can go ahead and assume the Deep State Justice Department will not investigate Acting Attorney General Deep Stater Rod Rosenstein. I believe class action suits are going to be our best chance of exposing and prosecuting the deep state, which puts the power in our hands. How badly do you want justice in America? Ponder that question, because the fate of humanity rests on that question. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.